So glad that you mentioned that. You know, we've talked a lot about how learning disabilities affect different children different ways, and the same is said for medications too. Ritalin may be a perfect solution for a child suffering from a learning disability. It may be a nightmare for another child suffering from the same learning disability. And so it's important that parents understand that there's a bit of a trial period there where you professional will prescribe a medication. You try it first off, it takes a while before the medication begins to work in the individual child, and then there's a period of finding out if it's the right one, and so that's important to understand. And also, the medications are not a 24-hour thing in a lot of cases. A lot of times the doctor may prescribe a medication for a child simply so they can help focus at school. And the reason I bring this up is because when the medication wears off, at the end of the school day, you have a child who's, again, bouncing off the walls. And so we said, you know, medication is definitely a great tool, but it's not the end-all, be-all. There are other things that need to be addressed when that medication wears off, and that's where Unicorn Children's Foundation comes through again, because there are behavior modifications for parents that parents need to know. They need to learn how to modify their behavior, so when that child gets home from school and that medication wears off, then the parents are able to deal with the child in a satisfactory manner to avoid major difficulties. And let's talk about that as well. Yelling, for instance, is the one that when you're dealing with a frustrating situation with a child, the first thing you want to do is yell. In a lot of cases, that's the worst approach that you can make.
That's correct. You know, even, you know, a child being yelled at, it's still attention. And sometimes children, you know, if you take a child who's 2 years old, it could be even a typical child. You go to check out at the grocery store. You're in the aisle, and the child sees the candy that's strategically placed there by the grocery store
at eye level.
Yes, at eye level, and they want the candy, and you say no, not today. So then they begin to escalate their behavior, saying, "But mommy, I really want the candy." No, not today. Well, then they're going to take it to another level where they know you're uncomfortable and much more likely to give in when they start screaming and throwing the tantrum. And, you know, the easiest thing for a parent to do is just give in and say, "Here's the candy. Let's, you know, stop embarrassing me in public." Quite interesting, last night I had a family that I was on the phone with. They were experiencing a particular challenge where they had told their child that they could not have a particular video that night, that she could see it today. And the child proceeded to follow the parents around the house, screaming and yelling that she wanted the video. And this persisted for hours, because essentially what was happening is this child, in their history, knew that by persisting would eventually get what it was she wanted. So, you know, I was sitting just talking the parents through it, telling the parents, you know what, timeout's great for a 2-year-old. It's also great for us parents. Go lock yourself in your room. But
take the video with you.
Take the video with you, absolutely. But under no circumstances should that child get that video, because what happens is you reinforce that behavior,
right,
and you set the occasion. The next time the child wants something, she just knows, listen, all I have to do is throw an extreme tantrum, follow my parents around the house, nag them to death, and eventually they're going to give in and give me what I want.
And again, a lot of that information, a lot of that behavior modification can be found on the website, which is unicornchildrensfoundation.org. Sharon Alexander is the executive director, and we are here today on the Dare to Dream show, helping parents, families, even professionals in dealing with learning disabilities. And we want you to understand that it may sound a little overwhelming when you think about, gosh, behavior modification and doctor visits and medications, but it may sound a bit overwhelming, but do you find that it's amazing how with the simplest modifications, within days, I don't want to put you on the spot, but within days of behavior modification, you can notice a real change a lot of times in families in dealing with children with learning disabilities.
Absolutely. You can see a real significant difference if it's done right and with proper support. Because, as a parent, this parent in particular last night, again, the easiest thing for her to do would have been just give the video.
Right, just give in.
Let's just stop. You know, I can't take it anymore. But in the long run, that wouldn't have been the best solution. So, you know, as a child development specialist, being on staff at Unicorn Children's Foundation, parents can call. I absolutely can't offer recommendations or coaching to every single family that calls, because every child is unique and every situation is unique. But certainly I can provide parents with some ideas and some referrals to other organizations. You mentioned how just some simple changes in the environment could make a big difference. I was fortunate enough to be invited to a graduation ceremony at a specialized school, Kentwood Preparatory. And it was really amazing because these were the children that were thrown out of school after school, whose parents were told their children would never succeed. But just something as simple as teaching the way the child learns instead of teaching to the masses, and putting in some structure, some specific structure and some consistency. There were children graduating, going on to college. One child came back who had graduated last year, is in the honors program at FIU. These are children who were told they would never make it, they would never accomplish. And what I saw at this ceremony were children from the most extreme circumstances and with some of the most extreme challenges, able to make accomplishments, able to get up in front of a room of 500 people and make speeches that were just, it was just really heartwarming. So I really want parents to know that even as frustrating as it might seem when you first, you're dealing with this, you're trying to find answers, you're going through the evaluation process, you're hearing all of these limitations set on your child, ignore the limitations because nobody has a crystal ball, and all we can do is make sure we've got the right interventions in place. We're monitoring those interventions. If you're stuck in the same intervention, working on the same programmatic goals year after year, something's wrong. You need to get out of that place and find something that's more effective. That's why the evaluation process is so critical, because it really sets the baseline where we can measure it. If you do an evaluation, repeat the evaluation in 6 months, 9 months, a year, so that you can actually see if the child's making some progress. It's hard to see changes when you're watching them develop day after day. Mm-hmm. But if you take a look back, if you could videotape yourself today and then watch it in a year, you're going to see such extreme differences that you wouldn't have otherwise recognized.
And it's very empowering also for parents to be able to deal with situations in a calm manner and a successful manner. And once the ball gets rolling, it becomes a real way of life. And I can tell you that it certainly is worth the effort. And it certainly, as you mentioned, it can mean some amazing results, successful results for the children, for the families, and for professionals as well. And a lot of that information can be found on the website, unicornchildrensfoundation.org. It's a great website. It can be reassuring just for parents to just go through the website and just read the pages and read the roadmap and look at the information. That alone is worth a few moments of your time. Sharon, a few minutes left before our show is up. I'd like to just give you a few moments to share with our audience anything else that we haven't covered so far today.
Yes, well, we are actually currently right now setting up our stage for our next fiscal year in terms of creating our fundraisers, because again, the programs that we support and the services that we provide don't necessarily come cheaply, but we like to keep them free to our parents. So we need people to dig deep into their hearts, deep into their wallets, make some donations. They can come volunteer their time. We're a very small staffed organization, but we have a large number of volunteers who really dedicate themselves to making a difference for these families. We're always looking for people to come help out with our fundraisers. We've got a gala coming up March 5th at Mar-a-Lago. We have a golf tournament next year. We've got another Denim Diamonds and Dice casino night coming up. In October, we've got a transition advocacy and self-advocacy summit. It's an educational conference for parents, for professionals, but also for individuals with disabilities to get an opportunity to learn how they can have their voices heard. We encourage you to follow us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, join us on LinkedIn. Stay current with our website, because we've got a lot of new information that's coming in, and we want to make sure that everybody's up to date and making a difference.
What we do at Unicorn, your heart will understand. Special children.